So anyway, it is great to see such a large crowd, and I'm very, very hopeful that we'll have a good discussion. Sometimes you used to describe as questions and answers. This isn't about questions and answers. We don't have all the answers. There's as much sense in this room. You know, this room could run this country. There's enough sense, enough experience, enough cop on here to work out all of these issues. So let me just say a few words, and maybe you know all of this anyway, but just to recap it. Sinn Fein is an Irish Republican Party. And what that means in this day and age, yes, of course, we want a national republic across the island, a genuine republic, and we're working to do that. This great historic mission of uniting orange and green is continuing every single day of the week in the north with Sinn Fein activists led by Martin McGuinness and others. And we're making steady, slow, but steady progress in trying to develop what Tone described as a cordial union. A cordial union between the people of this island. That's a big challenge for us, but we're up for that challenge, and that work, as I say, continues. But republicanism is also about citizens. So you have a republic. I'm not from a republic, I come from the north. You have a republic. And the republic is based upon this view that it is a human right. At a time when there were monarchs and all the rest of that nonsense, 200 years ago, influenced by the French Revolution and by the American Revolution, those concepts were outlined, and they caught fire here in Ireland. The most, I suppose, modern manifestation of all of that is the 1916 Proclamation and the democratic programme of the First Dáil. But this isn't 1916. This is 2012. So if we want to interpret citizens' rights in 2012, we have to make them relevant to this time. And that, incidentally, is what the most successful generations of Republican leaderships did. They built on 1798, they built on the Fenians, they built on 16, all of that on an ongoing basis. So it means, in our parlance today, and it has to be obviously in the concept of a new united Ireland, a new republic, but just in our daily lives to make it relevant. It should mean, no matter about your gender, no matter about your abilities or disabilities, no matter about your background, no matter about where you live, that you have a right to a home, the right to a job, the right to a clean environment, the right to access to education at all levels, the right to a wraparound health service, the right to civil and religious liberties. That's the sort of modern sense of what this is about, and then how we situate that and look at that. And I don't see that in the Ireland of today. And I don't see that in this so-called republic, in this part of this island. Rural Ireland, and both Trevor and Martin outlined it, and you know it, you live in rural Ireland, is under threat. And rural Ireland, we met with people all day, and one woman said, Dublin, with all respect to Dublin, Dublin's a fine place, but Dublin's like any other cosmopolitan city. You could be, she said, in London or New York or somewhere else. But when you come into rural Ireland, you know you're in Ireland. And a lot of our traditions come from rural Ireland. Most people, even city people, aren't that far removed. They're only a few generations from the country. And a lot of our sense of ourselves, of our identity, of our sense of place, comes from our rural traditions. The great notion of cohort-negortion, the method, that sense of cooperation, of helping each other, of community, of citizenship, of volunteerism, of being in together. Marion, Dini, Escat, the alienation of some of them. People live in each other's shadow. And a lot of that, I think, is, and it's in working class communities and urban areas as well, but it's very, very prevalent equivalent here in the West. And we have been doing this tour, and some would break your heart. I mean, it's different debating and arguing and running off the stats. But when you're in Leitrim, and they tell us in a part of the county that 300 out of 600 young men between the ages of 22 and 26 are away. When you meet the leaderships of local GAA clubs and they're telling you that as many as 18 of their senior players are away. And there's an average of 7 and 8. And you can see it here, and we got it in Mayo, we got it in Cork, we got it in Roscommon. And then when you start to listen to the stories that people have to say about the and family resource centres, about the people who are now, the term they use is presenting, would break your heart. I was told today, I stopped on the main street here, and I was told, and this is an unfortunate phrase, that a favourite spot for suicide is the Cliffs of Moher. So, this isn't about Sinn Fein or an academic argument. This is about the very survival of us. And we're no mean people. We've been through worse. We've been through worse than what we're going through at the moment. And we've survived it, and it has shaped our character in many ways for the good as well as for the ill. So we need to say to ourselves, we are going to come out of the recession, because we are. But will it just be for another 8 or 9 or 10 years? Because what I was struck about listening to those communities was people who had emigrated in the 50s, in the 80s, and are now seeing their children, in some cases grandchildren, emigrating now in this generation. A woman last night told me that 3 of her brothers, all with families, and the youngest is 43-year-old, left for Australia 2 weeks ago. So, what does that do to a family, to kids left without a father or a mother knowing that there's going to be an empty place at the kitchen table? Because the problem is, it is forced emigration. It is not a lifestyle choice. It's been forced upon people. They don't want to do it. The notion then of, this treaty, austerity, and I never heard, well, to my knowledge, I never heard the word austerity until recent times, and I couldn't give you the dictionary definition of austerity. But we don't have to theorise about it. We know what it is. There's 500,000 people unemployed. It's the closure of health services. It's a whole range of charges, whether it's household charges, all the invisible stealth charges like VAT increases and so on, septic tank charges. All of those creeping up on people so that people tell you, it's 10 euros and this and 20 euros and that and 30 euros on something else. And it's a conservative ideology. If there was no referendum, this government, or certainly the Fine Gael bit of this government, would be introducing and implementing austerity. Because they believe in the markets, they believe in capitalism, they believe in free enterprise, they don't believe in public services, they don't believe in social guarantees, they don't believe that the society has a duty to look after those who are most vulnerable or dependent. So this is a bad place to grow old in. They're taking 900 beds out of public nursing homes. They're taking 500,000, this always sticks in my head because it's such a petty, vindictive thing. They're taking 500,000 home help hours out of the system. 500,000. And any of you who are carers, or who have elderly parents, or someone who needs a home help, that that reduces it to 10 minutes to go in and poke the grate and leave again. And they are choices which the government is making. They're not accidents, the cabinet's passing them. They took money from children, teenagers with mental disabilities, and then they changed it because there was such an outburst of popular resentment about it. But the Taoiseach excused it by saying it wasn't the minister's fault. He didn't understand the irony of it. The cabinet took the decision. So all these adults, men and women, sat around a cabinet table and ticked the box. The lovely expression for children, or for, well, not just for children, but particularly for children in Irish, is Dinny Ia, God's children. No kids with Down syndrome or good autism, God's children. So it's not a good country to live in if you have any sort of a disability. And if you start going through all of the detail of why the government's doing this, it isn't that they're bad people. And I meet them and bump into them and so on. Okay, they're decent enough people in their own way. But it's what Martin said. They represent certain interests. And one of the reasons why rural Ireland has got it in the neck, and this isn't a recent phenomenon, this goes back to the very partition of the country and the creation of this state. There was a conservative, narrow, bitter little place created in the 6 counties, but there was a similar, bitter, narrow, conservative little place created in the 26 counties. And that's the truth of it. On the back of a dreadful civil war, which we never hear about, and the responsibility for education and responsibility for the care of those who were most needed was obligated by the state. And conservative politicians, after the 80ism of the Black and Tan War, and even for those who were on the other side of the treaty, their idealism quite quickly was replaced by more cynical, corrupt politicians. And the elite, which used to run the place when the English were here, was replaced by another elite. And when Taka kicked in the early 1960s and Fianna Fáil had their own themselves at the leadership level, we saw the fruits of all of that coming out in recent times. Now, that's an awful litany. You know, that's an awful litany of things that are wrong. But we live in a beautiful place. We love Ireland. With great music, with great traditions, with great history. We're a great people. Send us to the States and we'll make it. We become presidents and we become big business people and become big actors and novelists. Send us somewhere else. Give us the opportunities. We'll work all the hours of day and night. We make it when we have the opportunity.